Hello friends, in this Node tutorial, we will learn how to export MySQL table data to CSV file in Node.js Express application. So from this tutorial, you will learn how to export data from MySQL database to CSV file in Node.js Express application. As well as you will learn how to download CSV file from the database in Node.js Express application. Here we have used CSV file format for export data. This is because nowadays comma-separated file data is most commonly supported file format for export tabular records between web applications. And exporting of MySQL table data to CSV format file is very useful feature in the web application. So for this, in Node tutorial series, we have show you exporting data to CSV file in Node Express application. Now let's start discussing this tutorial. So this is our testing database. And under this, we have one sample data table with 5 table column like it, first name, last name, age and gender table column, and under this table we have already inserted some data, so this table data, we will export in CSV file under Node Express application. Now we have go to text editor, and here we have already download Node Express application. If you have not know how to download and install Node Express framework, so we have already put source code link under this video description, in which we have step-by-step described how to download and install Node Express framework in our local computer. So now we have proceed for export MySQL data to CSV file. So first we need to make MySQL database connection. So here, we have to download Node MySQL module. So for this, we have go to command prompt. And here, we have to run this command. So this command will download and install Node MySQL module. Now we have goes to text editor, and here we have to create database connection file. So here, we have create one file with name like database.javascript. Now under this file, we have to write constant MySQL variable is equal to require function. And under this function, we have to write MySQL. So by using this code, it will include MySQL module, and under this file. After this, we want to define configuration for creating MySQL database connection. So here, we have to write constant connection variable is equal to MySQL.create connection function, so this function will make MySQL database connection. And under this function, we have to define MySQL database configuration in the JSON format. So first, we have to define host for MySQL database connection. So in the first key, we have to write host, and in value, we have to write localhost. Next, we want to define database name, so for this, in the key, we have to write database, and in value, we have to write testing. After this, we want to define username of the MySQL database. So for this, in the key, we have to write user. And in the value, we have to write root. And lastly, in the MySQL database configuration, we want to define password of the MySQL database. So for this, here we have to write password, and in the value, we have to leave blank. So after define this configuration, it will make MySQL database connection. Now we want to execute MySQL database connection. So for this, we have to write connection.connect function. So this function has been used for create a MySQL connection. And under this function, we have to write one callback function with error as parameter. Now under this function, we have to write if statement. And under condition, we have to write error variable. So this condition will check if there is any error occur. Then it will execute if block of code, and under this block, we have to write throw error, so it will display database connection error. But suppose there is no any error occur, then it will execute else block of code. And under this block, we have to write console.log function. And under this function, we have to write MySQL database is connected successfully. And lastly, we want to publish this MySQL database connection. So for this, here we have to write module.exports is equal to connection variable. So here, our MySQL database connection code is ready. Now we have go to text editor, and goes into roots directory. And here, we have to open index.javascript file. This is root file of this Express application. Under this file, first we want to include database connection file. For make database connection, so for this, here we have to write database variable is equal to require function. And under this function, we have to define path of database connection file. So after including this file, it will be connected with MySQL database. Now we have goes into get root, which has been load index template file in the browser. So when this file has been loaded in the browser, then we want to display sample table data on web page in HTML table format. So for this, here we have to write database variable.query function with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write select star from sample data table. And in second parameter, we have to write callback function with two parameter like error and data variable. So this function will execute this select query and return query execution result, which we get from this data variable. Now we want to send this data to template file. So for this, here we have to write sample data key, and in value, we have to write data. So this data will be sent to template file. Now we have go to views directory, and open index template file. First, we have to remove this code, and paste this HTML code. Now here we have create one HTML table, with one table row, and 4 table column like, first name, last name, age and gender. Now we want to fill this table with data. So for this, here we have to write node code syntax. And between this, we have to write sample data variable dot for each function. Under this, we have to write one callback function with data variable as parameter. So for this data variable, we can get single row of data. Now between this code, we have create one table row with 4 table data tag. Now in first table data tag, we want to print first name table column data. So for this, here we have to write data.firstName table column name. In second table data tag, we want to display last name table column data. So for this, here we have to write data.lastName table column name. In third table data tag, we want to display age table column data. So for this, here we have to write data.age table column name. And in last table data tag, we want to display gender table column data. So for this, here we have to write data.gender table column name. So on every loop, it will fill this table with data. Now we want to create export link for export data to CSV file. So for this, here we have to write anchor tag with href attribute is equal to /export. And class is equal to button success and button small. And in anchor text, we have to write export to CSV, so when we have click on this link, then it will export this data to CSV file. Now we have go to index JavaScript file, and here we have to create get root for handle export data request. But before this, we need to download body parser and JSON to CSV node module. So for this, we have go to command prompt, and here we have to run this command. This command will download and install both module under this our Node Express application. Here, body parser module is used for process data and sent through an HTTP request body. And JSON to CSV module is used for convert JSON to CSV file and CSV file to JSON. Now we have go to index JavaScript, and here first we need to include JSON to CSV module under this file. So for this, here we have to write data exporter variable is equal to require function, and under this function, we have to write JSON to CSV. And after this, we have to write .parser. Now we have to create get route for handle CSV export data request. So for this, here we have to write router variable dot get function with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write /export, and in second parameter, we have to write callback function with three parameter like request, response and next variable. Under this function, we have to write database.query function with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write select star from sample data table. And in second parameter, we have to write callback function with two parameter like error and data variable. So from this data variable, we can get query execution result, in which we can get sample data table data. Now we need to convert this data into JSON format, so for this, here we have to write MySQL data variable is equal to JSON.pass function, and under this function, we have to write JSON.stringify. And under this function, we have to write data variable, so this code will convert data into JSON format. Now we need to convert JSON data to CSV format data, so first need to define column header data. So for this, here we have to write file header variable is equal to an array. And under this array, we have defined column header name like first name, last name, age and gender. Now need to convert this data to CSV format, so here we have to write JSON data variable is equal to new data exporter object, and under this, we have to write file header variable. Same way, we need to convert other JSON data to CSV file, so for this, here we have to write CSV data variable is equal to JSON.pass function. And under this function, we have to write MySQL data variable, so it will convert JSON data to CSV file. So after converting JSON data to CSV format, now we have to download CSV file in our computer. So for this, here we have to set header, so for this, here we have to write response variable dot set header function with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write content type, and in second parameter, we have to write text/CSV, so here we have defined content type. After this, we have again write response.setHeader function. And under this function, we have to write content disposition. And after this, we have to write attachment, so it will download file in our computer. And after this, we have to write file name is equal to sampledata.csv. So it will download CSV file with sampledata.csv file name. And lastly, we have to write response.status function with 2000 status code. And after this, we have to write end function, and under this, we have to write CSV data. So here our code is ready, and it will download CSV file in local computer. Now for check output in the browser, first we have go to command prompt. And here we have to run this command, which will start node server. Now here in the browser, we have to type localhost with 3000 port number. So here on the web page, we can see that MySQL sample data table data has been displayed on the web page in tabular format. And above this data, we can see that green color export button has been displayed. Now for export this data in CSV file format, we have to click on this button. And after click on this button, here we can see that one CSV file has been downloaded in our local computer. And under this file, we can see that MySQL data has been exported under CSV file. So this way, we can export MySQL data to CSV file under Node Express application. So from this tutorial, you have learned how to export and download MySQL database data to CSV file in Node.js Express application. If have any query regarding this tutorial, you can write your query in comment box, and lastly, thank you for watching this tutorial.